Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy podcast. I am your director, Christian Buckley, joined as always by the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior, Christian. Unfortunately cloudy, rainy, happy 4th of July to you. Early 4th of July to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this weekend, this episode is coming out July 3rd. The following day, of course, Steve Rogers' birthday, so happy birthday, Captain America.
Indeed, happy birthday.
National holiday. You doing anything fun this weekend?
Usually I do like a pool party at my relative's house. I think it's supposed to be rainy. I usually do it on the 3rd, and I think it's supposed to be rainy then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm going to the Woo Sox, the Worcester Red Sox on the 4th of July. Hopefully that doesn't get rained out. But yeah, what about you?
Nothing. Actually, I was thinking of potentially starting Halo 1 this weekend. I figured Halo, they got some military stuff in there. That's a good 4th of July celebration, right?
Oh yeah, dude, you need to do it. You need to do it.
I'm thinking of doing it, so we'll see.
I wholeheartedly encourage you to do that because Halo is just perfect.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for sure. And, I am on an Xbox Series S right now. I picked one up, and I've been tempted to double dip on Avengers. I don't think I'm going to do it because I'll just wait to get the next-gen Avengers experience when I do get a PS5, and then I carry my progress over. But I have been tempted, Jack. I've felt Mephisto making deals with me in my mind.
See, that's fair because I have essentially double dipped from PS4 to PS5. Mm-hmm. And if there was cross progression, I would say if you could get the game, which you probably could, get the game for like 15 and under, then I think I'd say go for it. But yeah, the fact that your progress wouldn't carry over would be unfortunate.
Yeah, so hopefully maybe there's an update like that in an upcoming roadmap or something, but we do have a lot to discuss today in regards to some updates and maybe some expectation setting for the game later this year, and of course, Loki, the new episode. But is there any other Marvel stuff that's been going on with you that you want to get into before we talk about this week in Avengers?
Yeah, so mostly it's with you, Christian, because I noticed on Letterboxd a app I love dearly, and I think you do too. Movie tracking app. It's very good. Of course, you've been going through your MCU rewatch.
Yes.
And it appears as though you've reached the year 2016. I know you're doing like a different order, but you're in the movies in that year. So catch me up. What's going on? I saw one particular review that made me very happy.
So I'm doing timeline order. The most recent movie I've watched, I believe, in terms of actual releases, is Spider-Man Homecoming. The most recent I watched in terms of the timeline order is Doctor Strange. So, floating around 2016, 2017 at the moment. It's been fun. For some reason, it gets really weird timeline order-wise after Civil War because, Rhodey gets his injury in Civil War, and at the beginning of Doctor Strange, he's getting a call when he gets in a car accident, and he's like, his assistant says, oh, there's a U.S. Air Force guy who got in an accident in experimental armor, paralyzed from the waist down, and he's like, nah, I don't want to take care of that. So you assume Rhodey would be getting surgery close to Civil War, but this is 2 movies away from Civil War. It's really weird. I don't get it.
Yeah. I actually think that might have... I think someone debunked that, but when I saw that, like, yeah, that's the expectation, is that that's Rhodey. But apparently it's not.
Interesting.
From what I've heard. Yeah.
Well, what was the specific one you wanted to shout out and address?
It's Civil War. That's it's my favorite Marvel movie. It stands to this day. And I saw a pretty good review from you in terms of the stars. So what has changed? And also, can you read me the title of your review?
Yes. So I've been trying to do just like fun, non-serious reviews for each one, right? The Civil War one I gave 4.5 stars. I said, I typed it out as you would a file with underscores instead of spaces. Thanos, perhaps I treated you too harshly. .jpg.
Excellent.
Yes. So Civil War this time around, obviously, I've said this a million times throughout each run of Excelsior, but I wanted Civil War to be Winter Soldier 2, and it's Avengers 2.5, not Winter Soldier 2. And I also was very critical, I think, when we reviewed Civil War, that the Sokovia Accords don't matter. And I still stand by both those sentiments. However, the role Civil War plays in the final acts of the Infinity Saga, I think, in hindsight, I appreciate it more for what it did, even though it was still a letdown for me on what I was going into the movie expecting. So that's sort of where my shifting has happened.
So you appreciate it more now. Do you think it's because of the hindsight of Endgame and Infinity War?
Yeah, I think that plays a part for sure. Because, like, I thought the Accords thing was stupid. Because, like, initially it was walking out of the theater, I was like, oh, that's okay. It was an Avengers movie. It wasn't a Captain America movie. Because Winter Soldier is my favorite. And that was the initial disappointment. As time went on, I think when we rewatched it for the show originally, I was like, okay, but like Spider-Man's out here doing stuff. He's not registered. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Doctor Strange can do whatever the hell he wants, right? So the Accords don't really mean a thing, but it's more about what Zemo did, the fracturing of the team, how that is sort of why Thanos won in Infinity War. So like I think on that front, I realized the importance of Civil War and that conflict, even though the Accords are still kind of dumb.
Yeah, that's really good. Totally. That's a really good point. I feel like there's a lot of stuff in MCU movies that really matter for that particular movie, but don't matter to the grander MCU. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the Accords, they like even make fun of it in Infinity War, where James Rhodey is like, this doesn't matter. And obviously they're bigger threats. But yeah, you're right. But that's good to hear. I'm a big Civil War guy. It's my favorite. It still is my favorite. So it's that is nice to hear. Warms my heart.
Hell yeah, I enjoyed it, and I imagine it's going to hang in the top 10 when I'm all done. But
nice.
Why don't we move on over to the Avengers game? Very brief updates this week, but it's an interesting conversation, I think, to have. This week, Fury's report, low power level, Stark realities, haha. The high power level, our town. I swear to God, our town is here every other week.
Yep, this is for sure. I know for a fact the Utah threat sector.
It's been consistent enough that every time we see it and we know it's Utah, we know it's been in the game again recently. So like, yes, we learned, you know.
I know like 5 of the 20 that they cycle in and out.
So how many have you played? Do you know?
All of them. not for like low power, high power, but gone through all the missions, of course.
Sure. The Harm Room Challenge this week will net you Avengers from 1974, number 122. And the Marketplace this week has some interesting stuff, including a Captain America sale. But what else is the highlight this week, Jack, in your eyes?
Yeah, it is the sale going on this week, but they did add a new Captain America skin. It's called Captain America's Ultimate Outfit. I believe this is his outfit from I would presume, the Ultimate run of Marvel Comics. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So this is like the very blue top with the white and red armor or abdomen piece, and he has like the horns kind of sticking out of his head. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when you think of like comic book Captain America, this is the one that you think of. Unfortunately, it has the game shield rather than the MCU shield, but oh well. This is a 1,400 credit skin, and there is a sale going on, but this isn't a part of that, which is a little strange, but
neither is the Endgame suit, which is following trends, right? None of the Endgame suits have been on sale in any of the sales so far, but yeah, disappointing to see for sure, but it's a cool looking skin. Maybe eventually when we get another Captain America sale, the Ultimate skin will be discounted. I might pick it up eventually because I do like how it looks, but right now my credits I feel like are reserved for eventual MCU drops, I think.
Yeah. And I was a little curious this week because I think it's a really good marketing opportunity to have for the 4th of July weekend to have a Captain America sale. That just makes a whole bunch of sense. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious why they didn't release the Thor Endgame skin like when the Captain America skin came out, and release the Captain America Endgame skin for this week for the 4th of July. I feel like that would have made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the Thor skin is still being worked on. I don't know if that's the case or if it's already done and they're just messing with the schedule, but it is a little strange to me, at the very least, that the Captain America Endgame skin didn't come out this week. It is cool that they did the Ultimate skin coming out this week, but I feel like the main draw would have been the Endgame skin. So scheduling, for me at least, is a little interesting.
Sure, and we can talk about this now, but last week on the Friday dev stream, they were asked about the MCU Thor outfit, and they said Thor is getting an MCU skin, but it's not the next MCU skin to drop, which is baffling considering everybody else got one already from Endgame that was in Endgame and is also in the game. And Thor is the last remaining character that doesn't have one yet. They said he is still getting an MCU skin, but the next one will not be Thor's MCU skin. So people are speculating that next week, Black Widow's coming out, that we will get another Black Widow skin in the game. Do you think that's realistic for next week?
I would expect that, yeah. I would expect the new white Black Widow skin because we already have the Avengers Endgame Black Widow skin, which is like her black outfit, and I think if you do the new updated black outfit, it doesn't really set itself apart to be the new big drop. So if you do the new white one, which I've seen in posters, that's kind of what I'm expecting, and I think that would look great. So it makes sense. Like, I'm sure they wanted the Black Widow skin that they're going to release probably to be out in May. Obviously, the movie was delayed. So yeah, I think this is just like a wrench in their skin plans because I'm sure they wanted Thor to be like next week or very soon. But yeah, they gotta do the marketing synergy. So I bet it's Black Widow. Yeah.
And not to beat a dead horse, because we kind of talked about this before, but especially now, if Black Widow's getting a second MCU skin before Thor gets his first one, like, considering the conversations you and I and the community have been having about the accuracy of the suit look of the character in the MCU to the game look of the suit, like, I feel like expectations, the further and further we get out without a Thor skin or seeing a Thor skin, are just going to be set higher and higher for, is it the right hair? Is it the beard? Some people are saying at this point they need to see Stormbreaker. Like, do you think that we're just going to keep getting expectations rising?
I mean, yeah, it seems that way with people wanting Stormbreaker. Like, obviously, you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
I just really feel for you, Christian, because that's your dude.
Yeah.
And you posted a really funny tweet this morning of like a SpongeBob background character like slamming his hand into the ground. It's just so perfect, and I really feel for you.
Thank you.
Mentioned the Revenant skin. Well, hey, now there's a good Revenant skin in Apex Legends.
Yeah, I got to get on that.
So at least there's that. At least you're eating good elsewhere. But this is the McDonald's, and Apex for you is like the Burger King. I don't know if that's a good comparison for you, but in my mind, McDonald's is the number one. Burger King's like the number two.
I would say Avengers is my Wendy's, and then Apex is my McDonald's, where I only get it occasionally, but when I do, I love it.
There we go.
You know,
Yeah.
Wendy's is consistent, doesn't disappoint me. I know what to expect.
It's
Avengers.
like you're getting. It's like you're getting the new chicken nuggets at McDonald's when you've been waiting for some new stuff at Wendy's.
Yeah, like Apex is McDonald's Sprite. Like, it's great. I'm like, why don't I do this more? But it is what it is, and I enjoy it every time. But yeah, Thor, I don't want to be one of those people, but I am hoping at least, like, the beard, man, please, come on. Like, Cap's shield being accurate, I think gives me hope at this point, and after all this time, maybe they are pushing it out further and further so they can do that. Like you said, maybe the White Widow suit was something they were working on for May before the delay happened. Who knows? But, yeah, next week I would fully expect to see a new Black Widow MCU skin. So
Do you genuinely expect? I don't know, like how the development is working, like whether all these skins are already done and they're just scheduling them out, or they're working on them until release. Do you expect at this point the Thor skin to be the best one yet, or of the top three with Iron Man and Captain America, or are you like kind of nervous?
I'm because it's taken this long and he is last, and so much of his look is not the costume for Endgame. My expectations are set to be this should be the best one. Maybe the White Widow suit could be the best one also because they've learned from the first Black Widow suit. But yeah, the expectation for me right now for sure is that Thor should be top three. Most accurate, best looking, most exciting things to buy. Like I think it should absolutely be up there at this point.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair at all. It has taken a really long time for Thor, who I think has the most, if not one of the most iconic looks in that movie, to get his skin for this game. I feel like you have to do it right, and I'm looking at I got the commemorative Avengers Endgame cup, and they have his look from the beginning of the movie when he goes to kill Thanos.
Yeah, that's basically Infinity War, right? Like
Exactly.
I've seen some people say that maybe they could do that one as a cop out, which like
That'd be disappointing.
yeah, like I'd still buy it because I like that look, but you're right, it would be disappointing. And if we're doing that, then like I know it is not with that suit, but like just throw the eye patch on or something so we can have some sort of thing because like he wasn't wearing that and wearing the eye patch, but like it would still look cool. Like I just want to be happy with whatever we get, man.
Yeah, I really hope they knock it out of the park for you, because that's the one. Like you have to get that one because it's the coolest look.
Yeah, like there hasn't been a good Thor drop since Unworthy, and I'm growing to dislike Unworthy at this point because I just see it every single time I load that game up. I'm like, your hair is like bleach blonde, man. Like it looks like Thor 1. It's weird. It's a weird nitpick, but like I need a different suit, man. I need something else for Thor. Just anything.
Yeah.
But
Well, hopefully soon. Hopefully in July. Hopefully by the end of July.
yeah, because God knows I did not buy the Razor skin for Thor. That was something. If you're working on completing that set though, the other four in the shop this week are Kamala, Cap, Tony, and Clint. I don't know if Cap's Razor skin is part of the Cap sale either, but at this point, I don't know if anybody cares. So.
Yeah. I'm not sure if anyone does. I think you're right.
Well. Why don't we go on to some updates? Did you know, Jack, that the Crystal team is testing the Super Adaptoid Omega level threat, and they found that the ping system is very helpful.
Very nice. This is a really funny. I suggest everyone go read the war table that we're getting all this information from. This is very much like a hey, 4th of July is coming up, so we don't have much to say. And it is funny that this is like, well, I guess we got to say something for the updates. So that is really funny. Maybe they meant more so for like the NPC characters that you could play with, because I was using the ping system with the Monica Cube event, and I was telling them to attack people. So maybe they're like, hey, that carries over. But yeah, it is really funny. It's like, yeah, that's not out of the ordinary, but that's good.
Am I wrong, or does the Omega level threat have to be played multiplayer?
I think you're right.
So,
yeah. Yep, you're right.
So well, I mean, you can still have AI partners, right? But I'm wondering if remember how with the Monica beating the odds, besting the odds, whatever the fight is, there was the computer hack with the cube floating in the air, and you had to break it down, the generators and everything.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the fight will have something like that, because at this point, I have to imagine that it's going to be slightly different than just a hard version of that Super Adaptoid fight. Like, hopefully there is some sort of mechanic in there that is like, oh, there's raid light mechanics of there's a certain elemental attack, and if you're shooting this specific thing when it's happening, or you're dealing damage to this thing while that AoE is coming out, you'll be invulnerable, or something like that. That would warrant the ping system, but yeah, maybe I'm reading into the whole ping system is helpful too much, and it is just a hard version of the fight, but I can't think of, in the standard version, why I would have used the ping system at all. So,
Yeah, I'm with you.
also, in the updates, they said that priority missions are getting a slight rework in terms of rewards that is going to make them more exciting. So these priority missions we run through every week in Fury's report. Maybe in the coming weeks, they've said they will give some information on reasons to actually be excited about them. So I know you and I talk about never really doing the priority missions, maybe sometimes, but do you think there's a world where they could get you in on like the high power one if they guarantee something better than whatever they've been doing?
I think for me, it'd be like Polycoron.
Oh yeah.
That would be a reason to get me in. I don't think this would be like, hey, do this mission, get an exotic. That seems
No, yeah.
too easy.
Yeah.
So like a valuable resource, maybe like I'm overflowing in upgrade modules, so I don't really know if that would get me in. Maybe some DNA keys,
That'd be
something
nice.
like that. I would at least think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Polycorn's a good thing to suggest because I'm tapped on that right now. I was actually playing this morning and I'm working on getting some of my other characters up to 150 right now. And I was working on Cap this morning and the Tactagon exotic artifact. I was only able to upgrade to level 7 before I was at 0 Polycoron because lately when I hop in, I don't play too long except for doing challenge cards. And I haven't been picking up bounties because half the time bounties are like collect this resource from a field mission and the resources don't drop in the harm rooms. So I haven't been earning a lot of Polycoron, but, priority missions. Good news all around if you give me some gear and some Polycoron to help me out in the long run because I know I'm going to have to upgrade my future heroes as well, not just my current ones.
Yeah, I have like 50 Polycoron, and I have like a level 9 artifact for Iron Man. So I'm my power level is 149 right now. And I think you need like 65 Polycoron. So yeah, I'm with you. I need some more.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a cool avenue to explore.
Yeah, so we will see in the coming weeks, and in the coming weeks we will also see a Black Panther deep dive because currently Andy, I believe on the social community management side of Crystal Dynamics during the dev stream, was stated to be working on plans for the Black Panther deep dive. So it's dropping in August. Presumably we should see something, I'd say, at the earliest towards the end of this month. Just as a little preview video, sort of like we got for Clint before Future Imperfect dropped.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of always get these before the content drops, so this will be really cool. It's honestly like I was kind of I think we were both expecting gameplay at the E3 showcase for this game.
Yes.
We got a cool new trailer, especially with the music that you could listen to after the stream. But
Yeah.
this is where we'll be getting all the gameplay for the Black Panther expansion, and that has me really excited. So this is something to look out for soon.
Hell yeah, I want to see all those kinetic energy pulses. See some cool Wakandan technology working out. But with that, why don't we get into some Stark realities? We were talking about some dev stream recap stuff last week. There was some comments that were interesting that were spread around, notably that we'd be getting a second roadmap sometime this month or next month. We touched on that briefly last week, but in the dev stream they said, they usually talk with fans in the chat. They usually answer questions the best they can. Someone asked, will the new roadmap feature a new hero? And the response from Crystal was, considering the roadmap is for next year, undoubtedly yes. Now this is interesting, Jack, because after Paul Tassi made his article last week for Forbes, recapping his discussions with Crystal, he said there are plans for content in the fall. Now, piecing all these pieces together, knowing we're getting a new roadmap for stuff after War for Wakanda, knowing that we're still getting Wasteland Patrols and the Cloning Lab, because that was also mentioned again on stream, that is dropping after War for Wakanda. Knowing that Spider-Man potentially, legally, maybe due out this year. And now Crystal saying the next roadmap is for next year. What do you imagine this fall looks like in relation to this roadmap? Is it just going to be a couple updates? Is there not going to be a roadmap that covers post War for Wakanda? Or is it going to start in September and bleed into early next year?
Yeah, so it sounded like the next roadmap we're getting covers the whole year. Like from post War for Wakanda to the end of year 2. At least that's how I took it.
So September to September?
That's what it sounded like.
Okay.
Like the response was considering the roadmap is for next year, which to me says year 2.
Okay.
So like it seems like we're getting September to September or October to September of a roadmap, which seems very like a lot. But at the very least, we will be getting stuff for the fall. I honestly was like expecting the next roadmap just to be stuff in the fall, but it seems like it's going to be pretty extensive. But to answer your question about what does the fall look like, I think we will definitely be getting smaller content updates after War for Wakanda because that's just going to be so huge. I can see maybe a character dropping in like December, doing like the Kate spot. I don't think we'll get 2 in the fall. I think the next one is probably Bucky. I feel like they could tie that into War for Wakanda if they choose to go that route. Spider-Man, it's from the way Paul Tassi described it, it seemed that Spider-Man is like it needs to happen, but isn't necessarily like the next big priority. It's probably because it's only coming to PlayStation. But it didn't sound like I remember Paul Tassi wrote like it could be at the end of this year, but it could also slip into next year. So yeah, I'm not quite sure, but it does seem like smaller things akin to like a Cosmic Cube event or a Black Widow harm room takeover sort of thing. Maybe we get a horde mode coming in the fall. That'd be awesome. And maybe a hero, but I'm not expecting anything massive, obviously.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at what we know is coming, right? Because we do have Wasteland Patrols. Presumably, according to Miller, the Vibranium mining facility raid is post War for Wakanda launch. So those are 2 things that I think are interesting. And then the cloning lab, according to Crystal, is also coming after that. Those are 3, I would say. Significant isn't like it's a broad stroke significant, right? But like
yeah, you could say not insignificant.
Yeah, sure. Like they're not nothing. And I put that modifier on because of Wasteland Patrols. Presumably, it's gonna be whatever. Maybe the Marvel Heroes guy can bolster it a little bit, and it can be something really exciting. But I feel like you could easily, based on what they've done so far for year 1, position those as being the big monthly drops for the majority of the fall.
Yeah, I think Cloning Lab would be a really good post War for Wakanda drop, being like an Omega level threat and like a raid light content maybe.
Sure.
Like just a new diverse mission that's different from the rest. I feel like that'd be a nice continuation of the momentum post War for Wakanda. But yeah, I think the fall will after War for Wakanda will just sort of ride on the high of that expansion with some like smaller updates. How do games like Destiny usually do like post expansion content, like the months after that?
So the way that Destiny's been doing it lately, at least, is I'll use the most recent one for example. Beyond Light was the marquee expansion for 2020, and when Beyond Light came out, there was the story campaign, There was some post game stuff. I believe the weekend following launch, the raid came out, and then I think around that time the season started, and the season also had the season was like an additional, hey, $10 and you can like progress through this pass for the season. And there was a story arc through the season. There was unique modes through that season, and that ran, I believe, until February. And then a new season started, which just wrapped up a couple months ago, I think. And we are currently in another season that is going until August or potentially the next expansion early next year because it got pushed. So the way Destiny's been doing it is seasonal storytelling with new modes, new cutscenes that drop as the weeks go on. So kind of different from Avengers, just sort of a different focus of what their support looks like. But I
Yeah,
think
that sounds more like Apex, honestly.
yeah, in the case of Avengers though, I do think it is much more of a hey, here's this one thing that you're gonna want to do for probably a night or two for this month, and then you'll come back next month. I think with the level of investment they have for the general player base of this game right now, that is what their aim is. I don't think it's the destiny of like, hey, yeah, every week there's going to be something new, even if it's small, but every few weeks there's going to be something notable and you're going to want to be on top of that. Like, I don't think they would do anything like that with Avengers at the moment.
So, so what do you expect for the fall, and when do you think we get the next roadmap? Like, how close in proximity is it after War for Wakanda?
So I think, I mean, the window they gave for a new roadmap is July or August for an update. So I would say,
Oh, so before
yeah. So
War for Wakanda.
I think we could have something, and honestly, considering the fact that they haven't officially said the word raid, but like data mines and leakers and conversations, like a raid is coming for War for Wakanda post launch of that expansion. I think they need to get out ahead of the release and say when the raid is coming. I think that is really important because they're going to want to ride that high off of the returning players of like, hey, you just went through War for Wakanda. It's our biggest thing yet. Hopefully you all really liked it. And you don't have to wait long because 2 weeks after that's out, at the beginning of September, is the mining facility raid. And you're going to want to carry over that progress. You're going to want to take those 2 weeks to really gear up and get ready for it. Get your team together. I think they need to have a date on this raid before War for Wakanda launches if they want to keep the momentum going of the people who are coming back, you know?
So that's a good call. Do you think with the deep dive with Black Panther, do you think that's when we get the next roadmap?
Maybe if we do a full dedicated War Table video again, because it's been almost, I feel like, a year since we've had one of those. It will be in a couple months, I think. But yeah, I think having a 20-minute War Table where there's a deep dive on Black Panther and then an updated roadmap that just carries us through the rest of this year, and maybe have like little snippets of what's coming this year to have some B-roll for it, and then the greater roadmap that does extend into next year could just be a graphic like we've seen before with this current one.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's realistic if the deep dive is in a video format, which it feels like it's time for that to come back, right? That was a really cool initiative they had that they kind of just dropped.
Yeah, they had before release, I think they had like two like War Table videos, like you mentioned, where it was someone from the dev team talking and like sort of introducing the game and going over some of the aspects, and it helped like explain beforehand what the game is, although I was still confused until I got my hands on it. And then like around the launch of the game, it was sort of like a, patting themselves on the back sort of thing, which is just, that's sort of how things go.
Yeah.
But it was like, I feel like it was like what you said, a really good like communication device. And we got like smaller versions of that with Kate and Clint, but it didn't feel like the big, longer versions of the War Table like deep dives that we got pre launch. So I do hope those come back. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think a good way to do that would be for this big expansion, right? Because you and I I think our attention was way more focused on Avengers during the Summer Game Mess last year after that first one, where it's like, oh, this is actually what the game is now. Okay, beta soon. Okay, we'll try that, you know? So I think you could probably get people who you either lost or didn't get yet with another notable presentation like that. Just talk to Keeley, be like, hey, can you just stream this on your channel? Do a co-stream with us, just get more eyes on this thing, and really go all out when they actually have stuff to show for it. Because maybe it just wasn't ready for E3, but yeah, I think a big highlight of T'Challa, the map, maybe the story, also the raid, and then even a graphic of the next year two, right? Like, I think that'll go a very long way and hopefully get some momentum for the people who are coming back. So I think it'd be very smart. I would love to see that sooner than later. But as far as this year goes, I'm with you. I think post-launch of War for Wakanda, content light, kind of, but like the light content is Cloning Lab, which we've been waiting for a year, the raid, which is exciting, patrols, which could be whatever, and then maybe one hero. So
Yeah, I'm wholeheartedly with you on that. Even if it is on the lighter side, which I think it will be, that just makes sense. Like, you don't want to crowd the fall. I feel like everything is starting to ramp up for this game. The fact that the devs are talking about having a roadmap that is potentially covering the whole year is wild. Like, that, it's a far cry from where we found ourselves a year ago. And with like the biggest expansion coming, and it seems like their work is like really being put into stuff coming out next year, which I was very much on the fence about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It sounds like they're very set on having a lot of content for next year, and even going into 2023. So it's really good news, and I feel like the momentum is ramping up right now and will hopefully carry out through the end of the year. So this is good stuff, and I'm very excited.
yeah. And I guess the last question I have for you, Jack, is I want to ask you, because we're about halfway through the year, right? We're going to see at least content through December for what we're getting next, right? Out of this next war table. Is there going to be a point in December where you and I can look at all these new people playing Avengers and being like, we told you, you should have believed?
I go back to the bet that Greg Miller has with Imran Khan about, I feel like this is a better one where it's like Avengers will be in an okay position at the end of the year, where Imran will look at the game and be like, all right, it's okay. I feel like that will happen.
Okay.
If Kevin Diaz starts playing this game again and like really gets into it, I don't know if that's a reality. I don't know if we're gonna be floating up as Captain America and Thor, looking down on his lowly level, I don't know, 50 Captain America power level, and saying, "We told you so." Time to run through boot camp and get caught up. I don't know if that will be the case, but that would be amazing.
Yes, that I would lose my mind if that was the case, and I hope it does. And before, because roadmap could drop any day at this point. They said July or August. Before we move on, last thing. We have to bring it up. We have to manifest it. We got to make it possible. Horde mode Marvel Zombies in October. That's the only thing. Honestly, don't even drop another hero this year. Do that. That'll be perfect. Right?
Christian, how many TikToks you making about this?
I made one the other day, and that was my first one about the Horde mode. So
you got to pound it on, I say.
Okay.
Because
I'll get on that.
That'll get us the Horde mode, I think.
Okay. Crystal Dynamics. Jack, you know what's funny? The official hashtag for this game is Play Avengers, right? Mm-hmm. On TikTok, if I look up the hashtag Play Avengers, there is it shows you the video feed, right? Some of them are gameplay clips. The only videos with people's faces showing are mine.
Of course. Dude, you have the control. You have the keys to the TikTok empire.
Yes. So Crystal Dynamics, TikTok, big with the kids. I'm not saying that I'm promoting the game or anything or that I need anything, but if you do me a solid, I'd be very happy. If Horde mode gets in this game and it's Marvel Zombie themed, I'd be pretty positive about it.
That would just be incredible.
Yeah.
I at the very least want a jack-o'-lantern in
Yes.
Halloween, but I think shooting for the fences, Horde mode. I feel like if we get a basic Horde mode, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good addition.
Maybe if it's even a basic Horde mode, maybe next year we could do a Halloween event where they're reskinned as Marvel Zombies,
Sure. I feel like year 2 Marvel's Avengers is that's gonna be quite the year. It had its rookie year. Year 1, it was had a lot of injuries. Went down to AAA. Then it's coming back year 2, having its real big Gold Glove season, getting the All-Star, the vote to get to play in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, it's not something we haven't seen before. That's exactly what happened with Destiny. Destiny Year 1 got like a 6 out of 10 from IGN in 2014, and then 2015 was The Taken King, and ever since The Taken King, Destiny has been like the gold standard for games like this, and I think probably one of the best games of the last generation. So I think it's absolutely possible. I think this game, of course, we've done multiple months talking about this game, so there is something here. So I hope War for Wakanda can capture that and repackage it in a nice, exciting way. Maybe not to the heights and extent that The Taken King did that for Destiny. I'm not expecting that in the slightest.
No.
But it's possible to have a turnaround.
Yeah, I feel like War for Wakanda is we're chugging there right now. We're climbing the roller coaster, and War for Wakanda is the drop. I feel like that's where we're going, and I'm hopeful.
Hell yeah. Well, meanwhile, we got some stuff going on in the MCU. There was a new Shang-Chi trailer that dropped, I believe, during an NBA Finals game. And it kind of blew up online. I don't know if you watched the trailer, but I'm sure you saw this aspect of it. Did you watch it?
I did because I had to.
Okay.
Because I already knew what was in it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, Abomination, Tim Roth's character from The Incredible Hulk, long rumored to be coming back, actually confirmed to be coming back for She-Hulk, is making his debut return in Shang-Chi, and he is fighting Wong in a underground fight club, superpowered fight club. It was the weirdest thing. I did not expect that out of this movie, but what did you think of seeing Abomination again after 12, 13 years?
If you did like 2 truths and a lie, I would have thought this would be the lie. Because
Sure.
Why would Abomination be fighting Wong in like a fighting ring? This gave me vibes of the Detective Pikachu movie when they went to the fighting ring.
Sure.
And there's a Gyarados. It was a weird situation, but this like totally took me by surprise. I thought this was crazy. Abomination is not a good villain. He was not a good villain in The Incredible Hulk. And it's just kind of weird that I'm just very interested to see what that story is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this is like he plays a very minor role in this, and it seemed like that was more of like a internet hype situation where we have these 2 characters that people know, and we'll just throw that out there to get the movie some good marketing. I don't think he will play a significant role in Shang-Chi, but very bizarre to see him show up in this trailer. So that's something.
Yeah. I do think it's also funny that this year for Marvel movies, we are getting, we are being forced upon us the villains we fought time and time again in this Avengers game over the last year. We're getting Taskmaster this month, and we're getting Abomination in September.
That really is how the cookie crumbles, apparently.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely exciting. I'm wondering if there's going to be more references or connections to other things in Shang-Chi. We know the true Mandarin is going to be at play here, but yeah, I'm excited for that movie. And this was, like you said, the last thing I expected out of this. But
something I didn't like about that trailer was the rings themselves. Didn't look like the best CG to me. Maybe that's just the trailer, but it stuck out to me. I was like, oh, this looks weird.
Yeah, and we're still a couple months out, so things can
Sure.
change for sure. But yeah, I noticed that. Well,
But yeah,
uh,
the movie itself, very excited for.
oh hell yeah, that's gonna be a great time. Can't wait for that one. Uh, you know what I can't wait for?
What's that?
I I know it's kind of a bit at this point, but we're excited to see Spider-Man, right? We're just worried about it.
Yeah, I need to see it, but yeah, I also don't want to see it.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting day. I think it might. Worst case scenario, it's gonna be a mirror of the December where we all saw the Rise of Skywalker.
Dude, I was just about to ask you, is it going to be that December? Because it's coming out around the same time. I
Yep.
mean, for me, I came out of Rise of Skywalker having my expectations met.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? That was fine. I know you and Mike Connors and Pat Maroney were not so pleased.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just I was just gonna ask you, is it gonna be like that? So I'm glad our heads are on the same page because oh boy.
Yeah, well, honestly, kind of an exciting thing, or something that I liked from one of the leaks of this movie. There has been some merch coming out, so people be careful now. The Lego sets are coming for you, but through action figures, Lego sets, Funko Pops, we have some new suits revealed for No Way Home. I keep wanting to call it Far From Home.
Yeah,
They messed me up with this naming thing, man. It's weird that No Way Home is after Far From Home. It's a weird thing. I get it, but it's weird.
they gotta. I know this is the last time they're using home, or at least it seems that way. Like this, they're doing this trilogy, and then they're doing stuff after it. It's got to end, and I'm glad it's ending. It's too much.
So, uh, why don't we discuss this a little bit? I'm sure you saw some of this, right? You saw the suits at least.
Yeah, I saw the one in particular. I saw a couple,
Okay.
which is funny because there's multiple suits in this movie apparently.
Yeah, well, Far From Home had two also. There was the new one and then
Night
the
Monkey.
Night Monkey one, and I believe the Iron Spider was in there also, and
Yeah,
the the normal Stark suit, like the blue and red.
that's right. Yeah. So I guess it's on par for what they've already done. But yeah, they have the one I saw that I think looks really cool is a Spider-Man suit integrated with Doctor Strange's suit. So the logo in the middle looks like the Doctor Strange logo, and it appears that he might be able to use magic through that suit. At least that's one of the Funko Pops that I saw. That I think looks incredible. Wish I saw that in the trailer. That should have probably been out by now. But yeah, looks great. What else was out there, Christian?
So there's what I'm assuming is the new standard suit for Peter in this movie. It is a hybrid between the suit he designed himself and the spider of the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War, but this time it is a solid gold spider rather than the one from Infinity War that's like I think a navy or whatever it was. Personally, I love that suit. I think that looks fantastic. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a great combination. The red, black, and gold looks fantastic. The gold kind of like wraps around his wrists also where the web shooters are. I think it looks great, and I'm very excited to see him on screen in that suit. And the reason I say I think it's the new standard suit is because, yes, we've seen set photos of him with the Far From Home suit, but if we really are going to get multiple Spider-Men in this movie, I think they want to make it very, very physically clear which one is their Spider-Man. And I think a giant gold spider on his entire torso makes that pretty clear.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire suits look, fairly similar when you compare Spider-Man suits on the whole. They are sort of the basic Spider-Man suits. So I think if you have the MCU Spider-Man have his own unique look, if we're going that route, then yeah, it's a good move. I agree. I feel like both suits look really interesting to me. I love how Spider-Man just has a vast arsenal of suits. Like, that's just part of his identity. And it's really cool. Like, the Spider-Man video game had a whole bunch of variant costumes you could choose from. So it doesn't feel like there's one particular suit that is the main one. Of course, for each movie, like, there is like the, more focused one, but Spider-Man's always wearing different outfits. So that's cool. Man, we got to get this trailer soon. People are going nuts online.
Yeah, like, there's been a lot of other stuff that I haven't looked at. Like, there was some confusion about some people thought there was a scorpion thing, but apparently it was just a bug in part of a Lego set. There's like J.K. Simmons is talking about some stuff. Like, Spider-Man has a weird tie to the 4th of July. Black Widow's dropping next week. You assume this is going to be in front of Black Widow, right?
I would hope so. And if it is, Christian, dollars to donuts. It comes out on a Monday because Marvel always releases trailers on a Monday. So if this is July 5th, there you go. But I don't know. I'm nervous about this trailer releasing. It feels like we won't get it until the fall for some reason.
What if, because, everybody's trying to get, whatever else is potentially going to stray us away from being back on track this year. I think at this moment, a lot of people are like, hey, no, yeah, just get back to what you used to do before. Is there a world where Marvel's like, in theaters only, you can see the Spider-Man trailer in front of Black Widow? If you want to watch Black Widow on Disney Plus, tough luck. But if you want this trailer, you got to go in theaters. Because Nolan did that for Tenet. Me and Omar, a friend of the show, went to see Hobbs and Shaw the night it opened because 2 hours before we saw a thing that was like, yeah, Tenet's first trailer's only in front of Hobbs and Shaw. We were like, okay, let's just go see Hobbs and Shaw then. So studios have done that before, but do you think Marvel would do that? They did their whole Marvel Loves the Movies sizzle reel earlier this year. Are they trying to get people back in seats?
That's really smart. I don't think they do that. I don't know if there has been a precedent for the MCU in doing that. Usually the trailers just sort of come out. Uh-huh. I do have my tickets secured for Black Widow, so that'd be good for me. Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm planning on buying a lot of popcorn, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, honestly, I don't think that would be the case. I really like where your head's at, though, because they are very much, like, on the crusade of let's get people back to the theater as much as we can. And having the trailer for the new Spider-Man movie be exclusive to the theatrical experience with Black Widow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe. I really do hope this trailer is soon. I have a sick feeling in my gut that we're not getting this until the end of the summer or in the fall, because that's just the way it has felt for this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, we know so much, but we haven't seen anything. So, man, we just got to get it. We got to get it.
We also have to remember, I believe it's being, I don't know who's distributing it, but Sony's involved also. So I don't know if they have a film coming up and they want it in front of, like, I think Ghostbusters is Sony. I don't know if that new Ghostbusters is still hitting this summer. I think Venom is still supposed to come out this year, and that's before December. So, like, I don't think you're too wild for thinking that we might have to wait a little longer if Sony wants to slap it on one of their things. But because I think they did that with, didn't they do something weird when we got Far From Home, Venom, and Spider-Verse in the same year? Didn't they do some weird trailer stuff with that?
Probably.
Like, I think the post-credit scene for Venom was that scene in Spider-Verse where Miles is at Peter's grave and meets Peter B.
Yeah. Yep, you're absolutely right. They did do that. That was at the end. I stuck through the credits of Venom.
You heard that Eminem song?
Oh, man. Yep. Went through that, listened to that. It was amazing. And then, yeah, you're right. They did show that scene. So, yeah, maybe we do get something. I'm looking at Twitter right now. Greg Miller from Kinda Funny is freaking out. He is demanding Tom Holland for information, straight out. He cannot be contained. People are going nuts. People are ravenous on Twitter right now.
I mean, I don't blame them. I'm worried.
I mean, like, if we get to the point where toys are like giving information away about the movie and we haven't seen anything about the movie, it is very bizarre.
Yeah, but is it though? Like, it is Sony, and they have a track record of all this stuff with some of their movies, man. Like, I don't know. Trailer aside, I'm already slightly concerned about the film, but yeah, I think the further we wait, the more that's just gonna fester, and hopefully, that works in my favor, and the movie blows me away. But yeah, I would like to see anything. Like, do you even think we're gonna see any of the returning actors in that trailer?
Uh, Dude, I don't even know what I'm sending you something I just saw on Twitter. There's more pop photos of pop figures that got released.
Okay.
If you want to talk about them, but dude, I don't even know what to expect for this trailer. I don't know if we're gonna get a stinger at the end of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming out. If it's just the main cast of Peter and his friends and Doctor Strange, and then maybe a stinger of Doc Ock or whatever. I really just don't even know what to expect for this movie because all of the information we've got about it is baffling to me. And yeah, it's just, I feel like everyone's at that point where we just need to see it. We've heard so much about it. We just need to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. No Way Home takes place around Christmas. Is that confirmed?
I think you're right.
I might just be confusing that with Miles Morales, but I do see Doctor Strange in a wonderful looking puffy parka jacket and a snow shovel and snow boots, so that makes me
Yeah.
excited.
Did you see the middle Spider-Man figure?
Yeah, so I don't know what I did see something about this earlier. There's an action figure of this. Resembles sort of the anti-Ock suit from the Spider-Man game, where it's a black suit with gold webbing. And yeah, I don't know. It's called the black and gold suit. I don't know what to expect, dude. Like, because we see the integrated suit, which is that Doctor Strange one you were talking about. Looks like he has magic web shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in this, and yeah, I'm excited to see him team up with Doctor Strange. I think that's gonna be a fun combo, but I get why people don't want him to be tied to anybody anymore.
Yeah, I feel like now that we know that this is a trilogy and he's had a mentor for each movie, like it or not, that's continuing now with Doctor Strange. I like Doctor Strange post Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man right now is someone who kind of has been attached to mentors with Jake Gyllenhaal, last movie, obviously Iron Man, and now Doctor Strange and the other Spider-Man, presumably. So yeah, I'm excited to see Doctor Strange. I am very curious about the black and gold suit. In my mind, like traditionally, Miles Morales usually wears the Spider-Man suit that has like the black sort of like base and then like a red stripes or red webbing or stuff like that. So immediately I was like, oh, is Miles in this movie? I don't think he will be, but that's where I went. So this is definitely a sort of very different suit for Peter. But yeah, it's just wild that we have all this information about this movie and we know we know none of the context. It's just bizarre to me.
Yeah, and one of the other pops here is also Ned, and that reminded me there were rumors that he's gonna be Hobgoblin, right? Like this movie, man. Like we need to see something by next episode. We should at least have a teaser trailer to discuss, please.
Dude, I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up. Like, I would love for Monday to wake up. It's the extended holiday. Everyone has Monday off. That would be such a treat to just wake up to Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Like that, we need it. Like Shang-Chi already has 2 trailers out there. Can we get a 15-second trailer for Spider-Man? Christ.
No, Jack, because remember, there are 2 other Marvel shows and another Marvel movie dropping before Spider-Man. We haven't seen anything from Ms. Marvel, anything from Hawkeye. Those are Marvel Studios. Those aren't Sony partnerships. Marvel Studios cares about Marvel Studios first.
I know. It's so bizarre to me. Like, typically, like with stuff like this, like you focus on the one project that's coming up and then you go to the next one. But you're right. There's like multiple projects in very close proximity to each other. So you kind of have to do all the marketing pretty much at the same time. So yeah, man, we need it. We do need it soon. I hope we get it soon. I'm worried it won't be till the fall. But dude, if we can talk about that next week, I would be very ecstatic and nervous.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, we'll probably have Black Widow to talk about. Do you know what time you're seeing that at yet?
I'm actually seeing it on a Saturday. So
Okay, next episode. Yeah. Next episode though.
Right.
Yeah, because
are you seeing tickets. It? Okay.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna try to hit like a matinee on that weekend or something.
Nice.
So yeah, but that does it for MCU talk right now. Well, MCU news. MCU talk is continuing with Loki episode 4. Leading the charge, spoiler free as we normally do. Episode 4 of Loki, picking up where we left off with Lamentis. 12, 16,
yep.
4.
Yep, one of those.
One of those numbers. Exploding. We pick up there. What did you think of this episode?
I loved it. I think it's my favorite so far. It's just, I feel like it's a really great continuation of last episode was more of a character focused story episode, and that continues in this episode. But I feel like episode 3 was a really great setup for what we get into in episode 4, and episode 4 just blows the lid off of this whole show and is really like cementing the idea of, man, this might be the best MCU Disney Plus show yet. I love WandaVision, but this is like really creeping up on its tails, and I agree with everything you've been saying so far about the show being incredibly focused, and I feel like that has continued with this episode. So yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I loved everything that happened in this episode. I thought there was some excellent tension, very well shot, directed scenes of the mysteries unfolding that we've been dealing with so far. And again, I think it's because of that focus that we've talked about the past few weeks. And I would be surprised because we have 2 episodes left at this point. And it feels like we could really still have a lot to discuss with this show. I would be surprised if by the end I don't think this is the best Marvel show. I think at this point in the series so far, I think it is better than the respective point of WandaVision or Falcon that we had, whatever proportional number of episodes in we were to either of those, right? Like, I just think it is such great payoff. It's developing a character in a very intimate way that we haven't really had a lot of emotional development of, or if we had in the past, it was spread out in the background across a decade. The focus of specifically this character becoming okay with himself and also just cracking open the idea of the multiverse even more, and just that mystery that I think is really great about WandaVision, but kind of faltered a bit in their execution, is pretty flawless here because it keeps you guessing and we get answers pretty quickly, and that is continuing. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a great episode. Why don't we dip into spoilers?
So yeah, to bounce off what you were saying, I really liked your idea of comparing WandaVision to this in terms of like where we end up like episode count. So this is like what you were getting at. This is like where we get the flip in WandaVision, where we know that Agatha is like the bad person, and like that's the end of this episode in a way. And I agree. I feel like the mystery and the answers we get for this mystery that has been built up is so much more satisfying than the one in WandaVision because it was almost expected in a way. And this one, obviously, you nailed. But this one, I think, was a lot more surprising and fulfilling in a way where now we don't even know what to expect going forward, where we kind of did with WandaVision at that point in the show. But yeah, this has just completely flipped the show on its head, and it's brilliant. I love it.
Absolutely. I will take my 10 seconds of gloating right now.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, timekeepers don't exist. They're completely fake. I think you suggested Wizard of Oz as a
I,
comparison.
I think I did.
So very well done on that comparison because they were very much, they were literally animatronics. I thought that was great. The second we saw the timekeepers at the beginning of the episode and there was all that fog and like showboatiness, I was like, this is a Disney ride. This is not real. There's no way that they are real.
Yep.
Because I think leading the episode with finally having visual evidence after all these weeks when I'm like, there's no way in hell these things exist. I think they were trying to get me to still surprise me, or like people who are on my side, but I was not buying it. And
Yeah,
then,
because they had like the weight of like the fog and like the red
yeah,
in their eyes, and it was like when I saw that, I was like, oh, so they are real, and yeah, they got me at least.
yeah, because I think for how minimalist the TVA is, I was like, this is too much for the people that created the TVA. Like, there's no way that this is a real thing. Like, I got Mandarin vibes, like overproduced, very, very trying to sell you hard. And I was having a bit of doubt, but when that fight scene happened at the end and then the robot head came off, I was like, nailed it, knew it. So that was
Yeah.
fun. It was a good reveal too.
And I feel like it is one of the better like bait and switch reveals in the MCU. At least for now, like we don't know the culmination of like who's actually running the show. But just to like have the answer from Sylvie cutting off the head of one of the robots and then being like, well, what is going on? I love how we have a week to sit with that and we don't know what's going on. And I can't even, I think people like have gone to the conclusion that maybe Kang the Conqueror, we've talked about it, is running the show, but I don't even know, which I think is the best. So yeah,
Sure.
this episode's nuts.
Also, I think just to throw another thing out there in terms of that scene where the reveal happens, Ravana, I believe, the head of the TVA, the liaison between the TVA and the timekeepers,
Yep.
was not phased in the slightest. So she knew, like she
knows
definitely
what's up.
knew. Yeah.
Yeah, and the episode ends before like the end credit of Sylvie talking to her and being like, "Tell me everything." So I fully expect next episode to be going to Planet Loki, and then Ravonna telling Sylvie what is actually like who is actually running the show.
Yeah. I think like I could see it be Kang the Conqueror, right? Because we know he's coming into play with Ant-Man. And there was that very interesting theory that the TVA was that city in the background in the quantum realm, right? I just, again, I feel like I hear that and everybody's so on board with that. I'm like, this is Mephisto again, man. Like, I don't think it's going to be
Yeah.
that clear and cut. I really don't think Kang the Conqueror is going to show up next week or even be alluded to. I think it's going to be probably some weird side thing, like, oh, some cosmic entity and we don't have a face or name to it. And people are going to be upset that they didn't get an answer. But, like, I don't know if this show is the place to have that answer, right?
Yeah, because I feel like there's 2 episodes left. I feel like we wouldn't get the head honcho like next episode or maybe at the
Yeah.
very end. That would, if they do the Kang the Conqueror route, I feel like that would be a Darth Maul at the end of Solo situation where where Ravonna like talks to him like off camera and be like, "See you in Ant-Man and Quantumanium," because he has to be in that movie, right? Like, so yeah, it would seem like a very minimal, like, hey, he's the leader, we'll deal with that later, sort of thing.
Yeah, and personally, like I think the internet is still getting used to multiple season serialized weekly television again, right? I think it's way more impactful and better for a show if you have that bait and switch that you shock so many people with and you don't get a payoff of it in when there's so little of the show left, right? For this season at least. Like I would way prefer to see like, oh wait, so who is this thing? Like, does Ravonna even know? Like, does she just get DMs from some random thing? Like, does she know who's controlling those robots? I don't know. I'd kind of prefer to not know and have this organization really just be in this role of, hey, we're just following this because it's our belief. And we talked about comparing all this TVA stuff to religion recently. I don't think you get much more analytical and critical of religion than, yeah, we don't really know who's the one calling the shots, but we're following the orders. I think that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, I just love how the show in episode 1 established like the rules of what they're doing in the show in terms of like pruning the timeline and all that sort of stuff. And then now we're in episode 4, and like we're like 2/3 of the way in the show, and that has completely like flipped on itself. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily the case. The sacred timeline is kind of maybe a bunch of bullshit, and like we just don't know what's happening. It seems like, in my mind, the person who is running the show is clipping. I guess we can't even use that terminology anymore. Like getting rid of these people and sending them elsewhere to benefit them in some way or another. Like,
Yes.
there's no sacred timeline in essence. Like multiverses are always happening, and they're just like getting rid of these people and sending them to some place that benefits them in some way or another, which is crazy. And I'm excited to get those answers, and I'm excited. I'm glad that we can stew on that for a while, because it really just hit you with a ton of bricks.
Yeah, man. And I actually completely forgot to bring this up because I did watch Doctor Strange on Sunday, right? So before this episode came out. And then after I watched Doctor Strange, I would like double down. I was like, there's no way this is real. They say the multiverse like every 5 minutes in Doctor Strange. The Ancient One manipulates and pulls from the multiverse to keep her life that like extended. Like the multiverse exists. It's a real thing that's been real since 2016, and like in our eyes, but in universe forever. Like the fact that she is manipulating the multiverse, TVA is not on her ass, and she's not worried about the TVA or not doing anything about the like. I really think, yeah. I'm with you, whatever your point was. I forgot what it was, but yes, there's no way.
Yeah, it does. Like, whoever is running the show seems to be using the TVA as a mask and using the rules that they've established to like prune the timeline as a way to benefit themselves. We don't know what that is, but that's what I'm thinking at this point. Like, for some reason, both of these Lokis were inconvenient to whoever is the leader of this, and they are pruning them in some way because they were inconvenient to them. And what I really loved about the the sticks, when we'll get to your comparison of what those look like, because I think that's great, but I love how immediately I thought of the end of the Secret Invasion? No, it was the what's the WandaVision comic? Or the Wanda comic that, like, she says no more mutants.
House of M?
Yeah. At the end of House of M, she uses her powers, and then, like, they're like, well, we don't know exactly what happened. Like, matter can't be created nor destroyed. And that's what I thought of when Loki, like, gets sent to the whatever he gets sent to. Because, like, you can't, like, just destroy someone and then they're non-existent. Like, they had to do something with them. So
yeah,
I really liked how that's a thing now. And everyone who's been pruned is seemingly being sent elsewhere.
Yes. Before we get to that point, because we do see that there are, of course, more Loki variants, right? Have you seen the theory that the person running the TVA is another Loki variant?
Ooh, that seems like it would jive with the show, honestly.
Yeah. I think that'd be, honestly, like, I think that's more likely, and I think that'd be a more satisfying reveal than Kang the Conqueror. And the internet would hate it, but I think that would be way better.
No, I feel like, because, yeah, why would the TVA be so... I mean, they're already hunting down multiple Lokis. Wouldn't it make sense for a Loki to try to assume the dominant position as the one and only Loki?
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, I like that.
Plus, like, if Loki and Sylvie eventually are able to, for the finale, like, overthrow this worst possible Loki, I think, that sort of completes both their character arcs that we've been dealing with so far. So,
I like that.
yeah, hell yeah. Why don't we get to that fight scene, though? Because, again, very well done. I did notice that the TVA weapon is a pencil. You made a wonderful comparison to Doodle Bob.
Oh yeah.
Just imposing your will on the world with a pencil tip and an eraser. But yeah, I noticed that during the show, during the last episode, during that fight scene in the blue room with the timekeepers, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I feel like I'm late to the party on this, but yeah, no, nobody realized that apparently. But it's neat, right? It's a natural, cool, fun idea for this group of office workers that are literally rewriting existence.
Yeah, I that's a really great observation that you made. I can almost guarantee you now that you've made that, that will be in like the Loki documentary for this, like in terms of like production design, because
Sure.
that is like so brilliant. Because yeah, you're right. They are erasing things, and it would make sense if their tools represent what they're doing. And I feel like the pencil aspect of that, with like the tip being like the sword in this, was really prominent in the fight scene, because I don't think those props necessarily looked like that beforehand, or maybe we just didn't get a good enough look, because they're really sharp in that particular scene. Because Sylvie was like stabbing people with those.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good observation.
But I do think it's very interesting because you have like the stabbing side and the, let's say, warping side with the eraser, where so far we've seen all the TVA agents using the eraser. Maybe that's protocol, right? But are there scenarios where they can use the pointed end? Like, you're, if you actually treat it like a pencil, like narratively, one end is being used to fix mistakes, being the pruning in their eyes, and the other end is used, in their case, probably sparingly, but when they think something should be a certain way, they have the power to make it that way by
Right.
like writing, killing. I think whoever designed that, whoever thought of that, they need an award. Whatever award that would be under, they need an award.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Dude, like, just like hammering home on like the production aspect of this. This episode in particular, I thought looked great, because it seemed like this. It seems like this whole show is mostly done like in interiors. In the throne room sequence is like up there with some like Star Wars throne room sequences. Like
Yeah.
just having like the smoke effects and the room itself looking crazy with like different staircases in the background and the rune behind them all. I thought it looked great. I thought that this show is like really impressing me in terms of its production design.
Absolutely, yeah. And a quick aside, but I saw this on the internet. I saw it blow up on Twitter. Sophia
DiMartino?
DiMartino, thank you,
Yeah.
was praising the costume designer because they designed her costume to allow her to nurse in between takes because she's a new mother. So, like, again, just production design. I've never seen any superhero suit do anything like that, right? But just again, I think Loki on a lot of fronts, and many other people have pointed it out too, but like the production team and the credits, it's a lot of women, like I think predominantly women. So Loki, I think so far is the most commendable in terms of just a lot of aspects of production. Like WandaVision, I think is still really impressive by doing the different decades and the studio audience. It's an achievement, but I think Loki so far is just very, very. This is a bar for future projects on this format, I think.
Yeah. And for me, it's incredibly surprising. I had very low, no, I wouldn't say very low, but I had lower expectations with this show than I did with the previous two Disney Plus shows. And Loki has cemented itself as like a very unique MCU experience in all aspects. Production design, conceptually, story wise, musically, the music in this show is incredible, and it's especially on point in this episode. And yeah, man, there's so much we could talk about, and there's still more to talk about. But yeah, this show is great, and this episode was awesome.
Yeah, and in my spoiler-free talk, I was talking about tension, right? And maybe one of my favorite scenes in the shows so far was Mobius in Ravana's office when he was just like great acting from Owen Wilson. Like he was being very suspicious, and I saw people making reference to, I guess, that pen he talked about a couple episodes ago, and he like looked at it and it said like some high school, and then she took it away from him. And then in this episode, when he was like really being slow and introspective and taking sips of his drink, he just like looked down at the pen. They didn't really like make a big point of it, but then he was just like started questioning her after that. So like, yeah, Mobius, I loved everything with his character this episode, but specifically that scene where he was questioning her and then took the data pad, I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, he's amazing in this show. I definitely got choked up when he got pruned. Obviously, we know now that he's, probably not safe, but he's out there somewhere. Just being like, I would go back to wherever I was on the timeline. Hopefully, I was riding a jet ski. I want to go back to my jet ski. And that was those are his last words. And in that moment, it held so much weight for me. And yeah, I think he's excellent in the show. I feel like there's so many standout performances, and I think we especially got one with completely randomly, I think, with Hunter B-15, who was a kind of like a side character in a lot of ways, and she was affected by Sylvie's enchantments, and I think Hunter C-20 was the one who was like screaming from the rooftops being like, hey, I was a variant, and Hunter B-15 was more quietly realizing what was going on and had Sylvie like take her to the apocalypse for safety in a way from the TVA, and we get the awesome shot of her experiencing her life through Sylvie's enchantment, and I love the decision of not showing it, of
Me
just
too.
hanging on her face and getting all the emotion we need, and it's great because like you yourself picture what that could be, and she comes out of it and saying like, I looked happy. That was a great choice. And I know, like, I don't want to harp on the recent IGN review, which you and I both disagree with heavily, but that was something they noticed in saying, like, why didn't they show that? I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Like, them purposely not showing that and giving the audience a chance to picture what that could be was so powerful. And from a character that's a side actor who had just the great moment of completely shining in that scene.
Plus, like, I think it was important to show Sylvie in that scene as well. Like, I think they showed her face a little bit, like when her eyes were closed, and she like looked like she was like a happy, sad, like seeing this person become free, right? Like,
Yeah.
and there was a bond of trust that was formed there, and I think it was a very intimate character moment. So being in that moment, not being like, look at B-15 at a family barbecue, like,
Yeah.
I'm glad that they did it that way for sure. Because a few minutes later, B-15's trusting Sylvie, fighting by her side, right? Like, so I think you would have had that effect still if you saw it, but I think it was way more powerful the way they handled it.
Right. And to your point, like, I believe Sylvie, right before she does that to Hunter B-15, says, like, we're all variants, we're all the same. And you really get that, like, once Hunter B-15 like goes through that experience. And I'm just really excited for the Loki revolution of the TVA, and just showing everyone their past lives and being like, okay, we have to overthrow this. And that's what I'm expecting, and I think that'll be cool.
Yeah. So why don't we get into that a little bit, and then we can like speculate for what's next. But quickly, I think we have to shout out Lady Sif making an appearance once again, Jamie Alexander.
Dude, I freaked. Did not expect that. Apparently, she's going to be in the Thor: Love and Thunder, which I forgot about. So it's a nice little tease we got for her to show up in this, who I think has been sorely missed in terms of hardcore MCU fans. Because she just like, I think she went over to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and once she crossed over to that plane of the of Marvel, she was just like shunned. Not really, but like she just wasn't in the MCU anymore, which was sad. With Thor continuing, so I'm glad she's back now.
Yeah, because like Sif, I thought was great in both Thor movies. I thought she was a highlight. I thought she was the best of Thor's friends. And I think there was a scheduling problem with her for getting into Ragnarok, and I'm glad that happened, because I'm convinced if she was in Ragnarok, Taika would have killed her with the other three. So,
Yeah. I'm truly hoping the title of the movie is called Thor: Love and Thunder.
mhm.
If we get this crazy love, I don't know, hexagon between like Thor, uh, Sif, Natalie Portman's character, and who am I thinking of? Who's now the king of Asgard?
Valkyrie.
Yeah. It seems like it might be going in that direction, which would
Mhm.
be really funny. And I would hope for at the end of that movie, everyone just hates Thor, romantically at least.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think she had a really funny scene in this show, and I'm excited for her future. It's great that she's back.
Hell yeah. So yeah, why don't we talk about the big revelation? Because there is a post credit scene this week. Loki very dramatically is pruned in front of Sylvie's eyes. Also, before we get to that, I'm sure you've seen this conversation as well when Loki's about to say something to her.
I have the
How are you?
Force.
How are you reading that?
He has the Force, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, they kind of set it up that they are interested in each other romantically,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird, but I guess makes sense for the Loki character being completely self-centered.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, I think that's what that's setting up. I feel like it's very much like the Rise of Skywalker situation, but in the Rise of Skywalker, Finn was gonna say to Rey that he had the Force.
Yes.
I don't think there's an alternative in this show. I feel like he has to say he loves her.
I was truly expecting he was going to say, "I care about you."
Oh, okay.
Right? Because he's never said that to anybody before, and he's never shown that to anybody before. Like, maybe at the end of Ragnarok, but at this point in time in this Loki's life, he's never shown any care or love.
Mm-hmm.
And the show is about him accepting who he is. Sylvie is a Loki variant. So, on a narrative level, like, really stepping back, him saying he cares about her or loves her is him accepting to love himself in a way, right? So, yes, I do think there is some tension for sure. I don't know if it's weird because it is, like you said, it's a Loki, and of course he loves himself, or he would love to love himself, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I saw a lot of heated debate about it, and I think people are maybe getting a bit too worked up about it if it actually is going to be that, because it's like, it's Loki, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like it makes sense with his character. Obviously, this is a very conceptual show, so this is something that's like kind of new. So it is weird, but I don't know. It's one of those like episode by episode. I'm like, how are they going to handle this? And we just like don't
Yeah.
know that yet.
Because I did see that Michael Waldron, the writer of the show, said he sees it as a romantic thing, but Kate Herron, who I think is the showrunner or the producer or whatever, because I know there's no proper showrunner, but she is like the spearhead of the whole thing. She says she doesn't see it romantically, but the writer does. So like there's a weird conversation that's been happening recently. I thought it was a caring thing, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, in either way, Loki was going to express that he has an emotional attachment to Sylvie in some way or another.
Yeah. And it didn't seem like she knew what he was going to say either. So, like, who's going to figure out what she feels about this whole thing, but we'll see. So Loki gets yeeted to another dimension. Surprise, nobody dies when they get pruned. They get teleported to a different multiverse, a different dimension. I don't know what it is, but they get teleported somewhere. And Loki wakes up with a bunch of other Lokis, and one of them's a alligator.
Is it an alligator or crocodile? I heard there's a lot of debate online. Couldn't tell.
Kayla was saying people are saying it's a crocodile, but it's an alligator. So she was very upset by the confusion. So I was like, oh, yeah, it's an alligator. I believe you. But yeah, what did you think of that reveal?
Thought it was hilarious. I totally forgot about the Loki for president situation in the first trailer for the show. So I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get that scene in next episode. But now that you mentioned the idea of Loki potentially running the show of the TVA, it just makes more sense now that we're talking about this. Of if Loki's running the TVA, he's pruning all the Lokis, sending them to this trash dumpster place, and just leaving them there to rot so he could be the prime Loki. That just makes a whole lot of sense now. And we're getting a Loki revolution, I think, and it's going to be awesome. What about you, though? What did you think?
So yeah, I think it's gonna be everybody from the TVA, or sorry, everybody who gets pruned by the TVA, I think gets sent to this location. Some of the random variants probably just die off because it looks like a hostile environment. But there are probably going to be survivors. I imagine Loki is going to find Mobius here next week. Because when he got pruned, he got sent here. And sure, he's holding on for a little bit in this environment. But yeah, I think next week it's going to explore this. I think, like you said, we are going to build up to a breaking free Loki leading the charge, kind of like he did for the Asgardians in Ragnarok, but for all these Lokis and all these variants that got pruned. And then that would probably bring some sort of chaos into the sacred timeline, and then maybe end the show with it shattering. And it's like, oh, it never really mattered in the first place, but all these characters got pruned, now they have free will, and the TVA is disabandoned. I imagine that's where we're going.
Yeah, I did have one issue with this episode, or just the show in general, which they did mention this in the IGN review, and I did agree with it, was that the end of episode 2 with Sylvie dropping all the like bombs throughout the timeline and like making all these branches, like that didn't really matter. And I guess it makes sense now that everything that, like, all the rules have been thrown out, so of course it didn't matter, but it just left on that note after episode 2 where it was such a big deal, and we didn't really get to see how it affected the TVA or how it affected the timeline at all. Obviously now it seems like that wouldn't have affect anything because the timeline is just kind of a bunch of bullshit at this point, it seems. But it was a little upsetting that it felt so huge in episode 2, and then now it just, seems like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's definitely weird because I didn't even realize we didn't address it, but I do think we could probably circle back to it in the moment of this show that will be the equivalent of that episode of WandaVision where they were like, this is everything that's happening right now. I'm sure when it's officially revealed that, like, yes, there's no sacred timeline, TVA is a bunch of liars, it's a weird cult, and none of this matters, that will be resolution for the fact that we didn't really see any chaos ensue from that. But it definitely was jarring because I didn't even realize it until I watched that review you sent me.
Yeah. Yeah, I am excited, like, for the Answers episode, which does seem like next episode will be the Answers episode. In the sense that you and I didn't like episode, I think it was 4 of WandaVision, where that felt like a breaks grinding to a halt. All right, let's catch up all the characters that need to know what's up. So yeah, I am excited to. It seems like having the answers for this particular show is going to be really rewarding.
Yes,
because it's confusing right now in a really good way.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm with you. I'm excited to see the reasoning, and because I also don't think we're gonna get all the answers the way that WandaVision kind of gave us all of them. I don't think we'll get that here.
Yeah,
I think we'll get enough, And then,
yeah, I think we'll have a good understanding.
For sure. Do you think, this is my last question, I guess, in terms of this weird dimension that has a bunch of different Lokis in it, and presumably the other people who are pruned, do you imagine we will see variants of familiar MCU characters on this planet next week?
If we do,
like
it would be
thing.
it would be like side characters. I feel. I don't know who that would be. It would have to be like a really lesser character that no one really cares about.
What if?
Yeah.
What if it was like Terrence Howard as Brody?
Yeah, we need that.
Or like, what if? Because remember how like Deadpool got Brad Pitt for that like 10-second joke.
Mm-hmm.
What if they got like, because of this fact that everybody loves, what if they got Tom Cruise for 10 seconds to be Tony Stark?
Oh, dude, that's so good.
Like something like that, right? Like some
They had
fun
Matt
thing.
Damon as Loki.
They do, yeah.
So, yeah, they got to do that.
Yeah. I think next week's going to have a ton of Easter eggs for sure. So,
Yeah, because, like, if people who are pruned go to wherever this is, which, by the way, there's Avengers Towers in the background. So it seems like some apocalyptic Earth, maybe.
yeah.
If people are sent there, then that would also potentially mean that the objects that are pruned during that process are also sent there. So it seems like this is probably like a trash planet in a way. Like garbage
Sakaar.
is being sent there, and yeah, in a way, it does seem like Sakaar kind of, and pruned people are also sent there. I just love how I have like way more questions. Like, has the TVA been around for as long as they said it has been around for, or has this been, since time moves differently? Is it a new organization that is just getting rid of things that whoever is running it deems unworthy? Where is the TVA? I just don't even know. I love how we're at this point, and I have more questions now. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think based off of the way the show's ran so far, I think most of the answers are going to be satisfying. And I do think a satisfying answer is no answer in the case of the show in some sort of responses. So,
Yeah, and I feel like the people who were upset over the predestination idea, I mean, I haven't seen their reactions online, but I feel like they would have to be happy in a way, because that doesn't seem like the case anymore. Since the TVA isn't what we thought it was.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel like the show will probably have some good answers.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have some of them next week. Excited to talk about episode 5, the penultimate episode of Loki. But until then, Jack, where can the Agents of Excelsior find you?
Sure, you can follow me on social media at Fascinated Jack. What about you, Christian?
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Chun2D2, as well as here, youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version of Excelsior every Saturday under the playlist for Excelsior alongside the playlists for our other shows, Jedi Knights, Gamescast, Long Play Club. Those will be updated in their playlists individually. If you want the audio version of this podcast, you can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your service of choice. If you can rate and review on your platform, it would be appreciated because it helps the show out a ton. And if you want to help the show out further, patreon.com/joyclicks is where you can go to support at the $1 or $5 tier. $5 tier gets you producer credit on this show and every show like Chris Sakas, Aaron Easton, and Charles Applin. So thank you very much. Jack, any final words on Loki before next week's episode, or maybe Spider-Man, or anything you want to put into the world for an expectation or hope for next episode?
I'm hoping that this show doesn't follow the trend of having a really bad last episode of the show. I feel like this show has surprised me enough at this point where the finale might be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the internet probably won't love it, but I think the people who were on board with Loki this entire time will probably enjoy the finale.
Yeah,
That's my bet.
I'm with you.
But we'll see. Until then, Excelsior.
Excelsior.